The gentle seekers, Dr. Marcus Webb, had been staring at the same constellation for 3 hours when the signal arrived. The Lunar Communications Array, humanity's most advanced deep space listening post, hummed quietly around him as he nursed his 4th cup of coffee. At 62, Webb had spent the better part of his career searching for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth, and tonight felt no different from the thousands of nights before it, until the computers started screaming. "Webb!" Engineer Zoe Park's voice crackled through the intercom from the technical bay. "You need to see this immediately. We're getting something on the deep-range receivers and it's not natural." Webb's coffee cup hit the floor, forgotten. He pushed himself from his workstation and bounded across the low-gravity facility toward the main analysis room. His heart hammered against his ribs as he tried to contain decades of hope and disappointment. "What are we looking at?" he asked, sliding into the seat next to communications specialist David Torres, whose fingers danced across multiple keyboards simultaneously. Torres, a 30-year-old prodigy who had designed half the array's software systems, pointed at the primary display. Structured transmission, originating from approximately 47 light-years away. The pattern is too complex and organized to be natural phenomena. The waveform on the screen pulsed with mathematical precision. Webb had dreamed of this moment since graduate school, but now that it was here, he felt strangely calm. "How long have we been receiving it?" 17 minutes, Park replied, her dark eyes bright with excitement. "And Marcus, it's getting stronger. Whatever's sending this is getting closer." Over the next 6 hours, the team worked feverishly to decode the transmission. The signal contained multiple layers of information: mathematical constants, periodic elements, and what appeared to be pictographic representations of basic concepts. By dawn, they had established that the signal was definitely artificial and intentionally directed toward Earth. The breakthrough came when Torres isolated what appeared to be a greeting protocol. "Listen to this," he said, routing the audio through the main speakers. A series of melodic tones filled the room, rising and falling in patterns that seemed almost musical. Then, impossibly, words began to form. Not in any human language, but the meaning somehow became clear through repetition and context. "Greetings to the inhabitants of the third world from your star. We are the peaceful collective, seekers of harmony among the garden worlds of this galaxy. We have traveled far to find kindred spirits who share our love of tranquility and gentle existence." Webb sank back in his chair. "They're talking to us. They're actually talking to us." The message continued. "Our deep space surveys have identified your world as a Class 7 garden planet, blessed with stable weather patterns, minimal geological activity, and harmonious biological systems. We believe your species, having evolved in such pristine conditions, must share our commitment to peace and serenity." Park frowned. "Stable weather patterns? Minimal geological activity? Are they talking about the same Earth we live on?" Torres was already pulling up meteorological data on his secondary screen. "Last month alone, we had Hurricane Patricia devastate the Gulf Coast, a 7.2 earthquake in Turkey, and 3 major volcanic eruptions in the Pacific Ring of Fire." "Maybe their sensors are malfunctioning," Webb suggested, though uncertainty crept into his voice. "Or perhaps they're using different criteria for classification." The alien message resumed. "We of the peaceful collective have evolved on worlds where cooperation replaced competition eons ago. Our planets maintain perfect atmospheric balance, gentle seasonal variations, and biological systems that exist in permanent equilibrium. We seek to establish contact with species who share our commitment to avoiding conflict and embracing the serenity that intelligent life naturally gravitates toward." As if to emphasize the irony, Webb's tablet chimed with breaking news alerts. Political tensions escalating in 3 different regions, another mass shooting in North America, and reports of naval conflicts in the South China Sea. "We need to contact Earth Command immediately," Webb said. "This is beyond our authority to handle alone." Within 12 hours, the lunar facility had been transformed into humanity's first interstellar diplomatic outpost. Military advisors, linguists, xenobiologists, and government representatives arrived on emergency shuttles. Dr. Amelia Cross, Earth's leading expert in theoretical xenobiology, established herself as the scientific coordinator for humanity's response. The aliens seem to have made a fundamental error about our planet, Cross explained during the first major briefing. Their classification system apparently identifies Earth as what they call a garden world, a stable, peaceful environment that produces naturally harmonious species. General Patricia Stone, representing Earth's military interests, crossed her arms. And the reality is? The reality is that Earth is probably one of the most hostile environments for complex life in the local galactic region, Cross replied. We have extreme weather, geological instability, mass extinction events, and a biosphere that's been locked in competitive evolution for billions of years. By their standards, we're probably what they'd classify as a death world. The team decided to proceed with caution. Their response to the peaceful collective would emphasize humanity's desire for peace, while carefully omitting the more chaotic aspects of Earth's nature and human history. Greetings, peaceful collective, Torres transmitted after hours of careful composition. We are humanity, the dominant species of the third planet. We welcome your contact and share your interest in peaceful cooperation between intelligent species. Our world has provided us with diverse experiences that have taught us the value of working together. The response came within hours, and it was enthusiastic. Wonderful. Your transmission confirms our analysis. We detect the harmonious tones of a species that has achieved balance with its environment. We represent 47 different species, from 17 star systems, all united in our commitment to gentle existence and mutual support. As communication continued over the following days, a clearer picture emerged of the peaceful collective. They described worlds with carefully controlled climates, where dangerous weather had been eliminated through atmospheric management. Their species had evolved without predators, their bodies optimized for environments with lower gravity and reduced radiation. They spoke of civilizations where conflict had been obsolete for millennia, where resources were abundant and shared. Equally, they make us sound like monsters in comparison, Park observed during one late-night session. Listen to this. We assume your species, like ours, has transcended the primitive need for physical competition and resource scarcity. Such behaviors are, of course, incompatible with intelligent life. Webb rubbed his temples. They genuinely believe that any species capable of interstellar communication must be as peaceful as they are. They can't conceive of a civilization that developed technology while retaining competitive instincts. The situation became more complicated when the aliens announced their intention to visit. We are dispatching our finest diplomatic vessel to establish formal relations. Our representatives are eager to experience the serene beauty of your garden world and learn from your undoubtedly elegant solutions to the challenges of maintaining planetary harmony. Dr. Cross looked pale as she read the transmission. Marcus, they're expecting to find a utopia populated by beings as physically delicate and psychologically gentle as themselves. Instead, they're going to encounter a species that evolved in what they would consider hell, shaped by millions of years of survival pressure. What do? Webb asked. We prepare for the most awkward first contact in galactic history, Cross replied, and we hope they don't run screaming when they realize what we actually are. As the alien vessel began its approach to Earth, traveling at speeds that defied human understanding of physics, the team worked frantically to prepare for a meeting between species whose fundamental assumptions about intelligence, civilization, and the nature of life itself were about to collide in ways none of them could fully anticipate. The peaceful collective was coming to meet their gentle, harmonious cousins among the stars. Instead, they were about to discover that they had contacted the galaxy's most successful survivors, and nobody knew how they would react to that revelation. The revelation, the peaceful collective's diplomatic vessel. Serenity's dawn descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight into prismatic rainbows. Dr. Marcus Webb watched from the hastily constructed first contact facility in Nevada, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform for the dozenth time. Visual contact confirmed. announced Flight Controller Lisa Chen from her position at the tracking station. The vessel is beautiful and much larger than we anticipated. Through the reinforced windows, Webb could see the alien ship settling onto the prepared landing pad with impossible grace. It was nearly 300 meters long, its surface appearing to be grown rather than built, with organic curves that seemed to pulse with soft bioluminescence. Dr. Amelia Cross stood beside him, her tablet displaying the final environmental readings from inside the facility. Atmospheric composition adjusted to their specifications, she reported. Lower oxygen content, reduced atmospheric pressure, and we've eliminated as many potential contaminants as possible. Temperature is set to what they consider comfortable. Are we sure about this meeting being on the surface, Mido? General Stone asked, her military bearing evident even in the diplomatic setting they'd created. We could have arranged something in orbit. They specifically requested to experience our garden world directly, Webb replied. Apparently, it's traditional for their first contact protocols to include communion with the natural environment of new species. The alien vessel's exit ramp extended with a crystalline chime that seemed to harmonize with itself. What emerged defied every assumption the human team had made about alien biology. The Peaceful Collective's representatives were tall and graceful, standing nearly 8 feet in height, but appearing almost weightless in their movements. Their skin was translucent, revealing delicate internal structures that pulsed with gentle light. They wore what appeared to be living garments that shifted color and texture in response to their emotions. Leading the delegation was Ambassador Melodious, whose very name seemed to capture the musical quality of their species. Behind them came 3 others, Serenity the biologist, Harmony the cultural analyst, and Tranquil the security coordinator, though Webb suspected that security, in their context, meant something very different from human understanding. "Welcome to Earth," Webb said, stepping forward with what he hoped was an appropriately gentle gesture. He had practiced this greeting for days, trying to project calm and peace. Ambassador Melodious responded with a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, their translation device converting it to, "The joy of this moment resonates through our collective consciousness. To stand upon a garden world, to breathe the air of harmony. This is the fulfillment of our greatest hopes." The greeting proceeded smoothly for approximately 30 seconds. That's when engineering specialist Mike Rodriguez sneezed. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. All 4 aliens recoiled as if struck by lightning, their skin patterns shifting to what could only be described as alarm colors, bright flashes of red and orange rippling across their translucent forms. What manner of biological emergency was that? Serenity gasped, their voice high with panic. "Is your companion experiencing system failure?" Webb tried to explain. No, it's perfectly normal. Sometimes our respiratory systems need to expel particles. It's called sneezing. It's actually a healthy reflex." The aliens exchanged what were clearly distressed communications in their musical language. Harmony stepped forward cautiously. "You voluntarily expel internal materials with such violence? On our world, such an event would indicate catastrophic biological breakdown." Before anyone could respond, the situation deteriorated further. Dr. Cross, attempting to lighten the mood, laughed, a perfectly normal, hearty human laugh that lasted about 3 seconds. The aliens actually staggered backward. Tranquil's hand moved to what was clearly some kind of emergency device at their side. "The sounds," Ambassador Melodious said, their translator struggling with what seemed to be a mixture of terror and fascination. Such raw acoustic power. How do you contain such forces within your biological matrix? Webb realized they were in serious trouble. Every normal human behavior was apparently a source of alarm for these delicate beings. He gestured for his team to remain very still and speak in whispers. "Perhaps we should move inside," he suggested, quietly. "We've prepared a comfortable environment for discussion." The tour of the facility became a catalog of cultural misunderstandings. When the aliens saw the reinforced construction meant to withstand Earth's weather, Serenity asked, "What manner of catastrophic forces require such robust defensive architecture?" "Well," Cross explained carefully. We occasionally experience high winds, precipitation, and seismic activity. High winds? Harmony inquired. Sometimes over 200 kilometers per hour, Cross replied. The aliens went completely silent, their skin patterns cycling through what Webb was beginning to recognize as their equivalent of shocked disbelief. 200, Ambassador Melodius began, then paused. Forgive us. Our translation systems must be malfunctioning. Surely you mean 200 centimeters per hour? Kilometers, Cross confirmed. The meeting was interrupted by an alert on Webb's communicator. He glanced at it, then tried to discreetly signal Cross, but Ambassador Melodius noticed his concern. Is there difficulty? The ambassador asked. Webb hesitated. There's some geological activity in the Pacific. Nothing unusual for us, but perhaps we should... Geological activity? Serenity interrupted, their translator conveying rising panic. Your planet's crust is unstable? Before Webb could respond, the ground began to shake. It was only a minor tremor, barely registering on human senses, but the aliens immediately activated emergency protocols. Lights flashed on their garments, and they began to emit harmonized tones that seemed to be some kind of distress signal. Earthquake! General Stone shouted, her military training kicking in. Everyone remain calm. This is just a small one, maybe magnitude 4.5. The aliens' response was not calm. They clustered together, their emergency equipment activated, clearly preparing for what they assumed was a planetary catastrophe. Ambassador. Melodius was speaking rapidly into their communication device, presumably warning their ship of the impending disaster. The tremor lasted 15 seconds and caused no damage whatsoever. Webb and his team barely registered it as noteworthy. That's it, Cross said cheerfully. All done. Sometimes the tectonic plates shift a bit. Nothing to worry about. The silence that followed was profound. The aliens stared at the humans with expressions that needed no translation. They had just witnessed their gracious hosts casually dismiss what to them was clearly a near-death experience. Tranquil was the first to speak. You experience this regularly? Oh yes, Rodriguez replied helpfully. California gets thousands of small earthquakes every year. The big ones are more interesting, though. I was in the 1994 Northridge quake. Now that was exciting. Webb wanted to throttle Rodriguez, but the damage was done. Ambassador Melodius was staring at them with what could only be described as a mixture of horror and awe. Your species, the ambassador said slowly, has evolved to survive on a world where the very ground beneath your feet is unstable, where the atmosphere itself becomes a weapon, where your own biological processes involve violent expulsions of matter and energy. When you put it like that, Cross said weakly. It sounds worse than it is. Worse? Harmony stepped forward, their translator conveying something that might have been wonder. This is not worse. This is unprecedented. You are not a garden, world species at all. You are survivors of what we would classify as a chaos world. The revelation hung in the air like a challenge. Webb realized that this was the moment that would determine humanity's future relationship with the galaxy. He stepped forward, choosing his words carefully. We didn't evolve in paradise, he said. We evolved in a world that tested us constantly. Every generation of our ancestors faced challenges that would destroy most life forms. We learned to adapt, to overcome, to find solutions under pressure. Yes, we're different from you. But that difference might be valuable. The aliens conferenced among themselves in their musical language for several minutes. When they turned back, Ambassador Melodius spoke with new gravity. We have consulted with our collective consciousness, they said. Never in our 10,000 years of galactic exploration have we encountered a species like yours. You terrify us. Your world would kill our people within moments. Your casual acceptance of forces that would shatter our civilization speaks to capabilities we cannot comprehend. Webb's heart sank. This was rejection. However, the ambassador continued, we are also amazed. In one brief encounter, you have survived phenomena that would require our greatest emergency response protocols. You have shown us that life can thrive in conditions we thought impossible. Perhaps the galaxy needs survivors as much as it needs peacemakers. Serenity stepped forward. We propose an exchange. We can offer you technologies that will make your harsh world more comfortable. Climate control, seismic stabilization, atmospheric management. In return? Cross asked. Teach us to be strong, Harmony said simply. Show us how a species learns to face the impossible and not just survive, but thrive. The galaxy is vast, and even the peaceful collective sometimes encounters challenges that gentleness alone cannot overcome. Webb looked around at his team, seeing the same realization dawning on all their faces. Humanity had been contacted not because they were the peaceful garden world species the aliens had expected, but because they were something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that had graduated from the school of the impossible. I think, Webb said carefully, this could be the beginning of a very interesting partnership. Ambassador Melodious's skin patterns shifted to what Webb was learning indicated something like hopeful anticipation. Indeed, though we may need to conduct future meetings in orbit, your planet's surface remains quite terrifying. For the first time since the aliens had arrived, Webb allowed himself to smile. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as gentle gardeners, but as the teachers of survival. It wasn't the role they had expected, but it might be exactly the role the universe needed them to play.